So we'll be dealing with the data science parts. I think you guys are compatible with Python basics. If not, then we'll discuss some of the basics in the following days. Today we'll be having an 1.5 hour session for introduction to the data science fields. What are the job trendings, or what are the fields or working on the data science? What are sectors? Who are the data scientists? And how is it's different from the business intelligence and data science. We'll see the life cycle of those things. Okay, so as the world entered the era of your big data, the need for its storage is also grew, right? So it was a main challenge and concern for enterprise industries until 2010. So the main focus on building a framework and solutions is to store the data exactly. So what we do there in the data science, we just play with the data, right? What we do is we play with the data by manipulating, analyzing, cleaning, wrangling. There are a lot of methods we will do with the data. Okay, in the following days we'll do a lot of things. Okay, so these are a part of a data analysis, a data wrangling, data cleaning. Many methods are there, right? So there come a big data term, and then now when Hadoop was introduced, you might be knowing about the Hadoop, or you must have heard the name of that. So Hadoop was introduced like for other frameworks. So it basically successfully solved the problem of storage. There was a lot of problem for storage of all these data. So that was data science has been you can say has introduced to just minimize the less use of your storage. Okay. So what is data science in a very simple words? If we go on, so before going to what, we'll discuss why we need to understand data science, why we need to go with the data science things. Okay. So it's been said that data scientist is the, like you can say, is the hottest job of 2000 or 21st century, right? So it's why, because over the past few years, companies have been storing their data, and this is being done by each and every company. Let it be Facebook, Google, Netflix, any big companies. There has been a suddenly led to the data explosion. Now data has become the most abundant thing you can think of any of them. Okay. So what about what you will do this with these all data, and what are these data actually? So everything with you see with your pupils, right? Everything which you see nowadays, from the first day when you were born, from that day you are just collecting out the data and storing in your brain. So the best part for storing data is your brain. Uh, a lot more you can take on. That depends on you. So this, what is this data? What you do with this data? Okay, let's understand with an example for this. Say you have a company which makes mobile phone. Okay, you realized or you released first of all the first product, and it became a massive hit. Let's say you just launched iPhone SE and something like that. Okay, so every technology has a life, right? Everything has a life. Everything is just have some days to spend on this earth, like everything has, let it be object where it is living or non-living anything. So now it's time to come up and come up with something new data. Instead of that iPhone SE, let's come with something different, right? So what you don't know, to innovate something new, because you have innovated something latest, and now you want to come with some another product apart from this advanced of the uh, initialized product what you have made. Okay, so what you'll do is, now somebody in your company comes with an idea of using the users generated feedback and picks things which we feel users are expecting in the next release. So this is what where data science comes in. Okay, so what you do is you come with an idea over that what the user will be predicting from you or expecting from you. Okay, so you predict what the user will be expecting from you. So that comes in the data science. You apply various data mining techniques like sentiment analysis and get the desired results. All right. So it's not only this. You can make better decisions. You can reduce the production cost by coming out with their efficient ways, or by giving your customers the actual they want. Okay, that is the process you say is as your faster and better decision making, right? So this is called as your decision making, or it can be called as your faster decision making. Now, in terms of cost reduction, what is the cost reduction then? So now let's say, let's have an example for let's say why actually do we need analytics? Okay, so the most common answers we get from the environment and from everyone till now, whatever workshops I have done, I have got the answer that we usually use analytics to make some better decisions. Now that's perfectly correct, right? But analytics is not just use of making some better decisions. Okay, there are somebody has came. So there are a lot of methods, particularly, right? So there are major things like you can say analytics help us to achieve the mainly what we'll be discussing for the needs of analytics across for the major parts, right? But the first part you have said as it's cost reduction. Now every company invests. Let's take it as an example. So every company invests a huge amount with respect to different resources, right? Some companies are there, some multinational companies are there, those invest money whose work is only to invest money on some of the initial companies to grow up there, right? So every company invests a huge amount in there also and somewhat in some of all the companies also. Right. So they do because that is called something called marketing for you. Okay. So that is do. Now how the company will judge whether the invested money where they are using in the particular company or some other company where they will be getting the fruitful result. So that can be done using the sort of analytics, right? Through analytics, we can easily identify which section is actually performing right. So that is we can cope up with all. So these are the 5 things you will be dealing in the data science field. Okay. So let's move with the what is data science. So the term data science emerged recently with the evaluation of mathematics statistics. Okay. In the data science, we will be dealing with a lot of statistic part. Okay. So in the data analysis also while doing the data calculation. So the journey began as an amazing, right, in the field of data science with the evolution of the various language called Scala, Hadoop, Python, R, and a lot of okay. So in the next few years, we'll be able to just predict the future also if we go with this space and these methods. This has been claimed by the MITians. Okay, you researchers from the MITians. So they have researched and they have already reached a milestone in predicting the future of awesome some research are there. Okay, so coming back to the in the data science. So who is a data science there? So as you can see the image, the data science is a master of all the trades. Here you should be like proficient in maths. He should be acing the business field and should have a very great computer science skills as well. Okay, so if we zoom up, let me show you there. There's a pointer. Okay, fine. So mathematics is not about for getting up scared, right? So though we need all good in these all the fields, but even if you are not good in any of the sector, so that would be a problematic situation in the data science field. Okay, so you should be good in Python or anything. Like, I'm considering Python because you are going to learn your data science with the use of Python. Okay, so you should be good in any of the field you are choosing. That depends on you whatever you choose, right? So you should be good at mathematics, statistics. Don't worry, you if you are not good, we'll make you good there. That's not to worry on. So we have several job trendings there. As you can see the graph, it says not only there are a lot of job openings, but data science there are a lot of workings in the jobs well paid too. There are a lot of things to explore on data science. So how to solve a problem in data science if we see on, so there are typically there are various problems which comes into the data field. Okay, so they will deal with some of the problematic situations with some of the algorithms, right? So there are algorithms of some 5 types. Okay, they're basically of the 5 modes. So first is your a you can see here. So we'll discuss one by one. So first is your method called as is this A or B? Okay, that is particularly a classification algorithm. Okay, so with this question, we are referring to the problems we have categorical answer. If we write A, is this A or B? So as in the problems which has a very fixed solution, or the answer could be either yes or one or no, yes or no, success or failure, interested or not interested, maybe or may not be, like in a categorical answer, or you can say as a kind of boolean answer or a binary answer, right? So these all fall inside the first category, that is your classification algorithm, right? For example, what if you ask you the question here, so for example, you can ask us kind of, what will you have, tea or coffee? Which song will you like to listen in the Spotify? Like how Spotify, how Netflix asks you for the sends you the movie over there. Okay, so here you cannot say you would not want a Coke or something. Like if someone asks you, would you like to have tea or coffee? So you can't say that I want to have Coke, because you have two options there. You have tea or coffee. That's it. You want to have to answer in either of the tea or of the coffee. Okay, suppose you went to someone's friend's house and his or her mother asks you, what you would you like to drink, like a tea or coffee? Would you say, ma'am, please provide me the Coke? That is not good, right? So you have their categorical answers. Okay, so that is also, if you have more than two answers, if you have more than two, let's say if she says, would you like to have water or would you have to like tea or coffee? Now you have three answers, right? You have three choices. That is a class of, you can say it's a kind of a multi-classification, right? Multi-class classification. Understood? So that can be of two type. One is of normal, that is of class classification. The class classification can be categorized as, so what is class classification? If your answer is either yes or no, that you will be saying as your class classification. Okay. Now, if your answer is more than y or n, or more than one more, let's say it's ny, so you will be getting multi-class classification. All right. So these are the two methods. Okay. So concluding, whenever you come across questions where your answer is between 0 or 1, or maybe a categorical answer, in the data science you will be using the steps of the algorithm of classification. That's all. Okay. So when you get any type of situation where you have a binary answer, you will always using the classification algorithm there. So this is your first step, right? Moving ahead. Now, the second could be like, is this word, right? Is this weird? So questions like these deal with the patterns and can be solved using anomaly detection algorithm, right? For example, try it associating with a problem where you can see it as your diagram now, right? So try whether it is weird or not. So what is weird in the above pattern, right? What is weird in this pattern there? This red guy, right? This one is weird out there. Why? Because whenever there is a break in a pattern, the algorithm flags that particular event for us to review. Okay. So a real world application of a particular algorithm has been implemented by the credit card companies wherein an unusual transaction by a user is flagged. This is how credit card modeling or credit card models build up, right? So hence, when the security implementations and reducing human effort come, we use the method of anomaly detection algorithm. So here you can have questions like whether is this a fraud transaction or not. That could be, right. Moving ahead. So there we have how much or how many in the third part, right. So if the question come like will the temperature, what will the temperature for tomorrow, or will it rain tomorrow or not, that could be a kind of a regression algorithms. Okay. So what is their regression actually? We'll deal with all these things, don't worry. What is regression, what is classification, that will be dealing up. So how much or how many, there you, those of you like, much of you I think must not be liking mathematics. Okay. For those who don't like mathematics, they will be revealed. Okay, they will be revealed with the linear regression or regression techniques basically. So linear regression algorithms are very much easy, and a bit of mathematics is required to just work on with the regression algorithms. You just have to get a RMS, MS, LMS, just only the mean squares and all these things. Okay. So whenever there is a problem which may ask you the figure of the numerical values, and remember, when you ask only the numerical values, so there you will be using your regression algorithm. All right. So there could be dependent variable, independent variable, on the basis of which you will be judging your output there. All right. So we'll understand how it comes. Okay. Don't worry. This is just an introduction to all things. So yeah. So the next is how is things organized, or how is the matter organized, you can say. You can see a group C over here, group A and group B having some these particular fields of these blue, red and green. These, let's say this is X, this is Y, this is Z. So what are these actually? These are this X plus Y plus Z is particularly a combination of, let it be, is it a combination of U or anything. Okay. Now this U is subdivided into three of the categories. It is divided into X, it is divided into Y, and divided into Z over there. So these are divided into three main categories. So that are called as your clustering there. Okay. Now what is exactly there? So say you have some data. Let it be X, Y, and Z. Okay. Now you don't have any idea how to make sense out of that. Let's say you have a graph combined of X plus Y plus Z. Okay. So well, you can solve this X plus Y plus Z being shattered or being separated by using the formula of clustering algorithm. Okay, so clustering algorithm group the data in terms of characteristics in which they are common. It can be, these methods are used by the Netflix or Amazon or any company which serves as an e-commerce or serve as an uh, entertainment. Okay, so they use clustering for them. So you, for understanding the user, we'll discuss when we'll see the introduction of Python. We'll discuss those. Okay. Now this, what is it? This clustering group the data in terms of characteristics which are common. For example, in you can say in the diagram, as you can see, the dots of the organized this red, blue, and green are based on some of the colors. Let it be a colors, as I said, X plus Y plus Z, representing three different colors. So these were a type of a combination of U, okay, and I initialized or I shattered this in a pattern of three different patterns. Okay, there, this is a classification. Sorry, this is an algorithm of your kind of learning which is said as unsupervised learning in machine learning. Okay, so we'll deal with those because in data science you have everything: artificial intelligence, machine learning, statistics, Python, R, everything. So we'll be learning with the Python, not with the R. Don't worry. So here you get a questions like your temperature control system. It should be lower temperature or room or higher temperature. There you get some type of questions. Okay. So what to do next? These are the reinforcement learning, right? What are reinforcement learning? There you have machine learning algorithm which automatically learns from the environment by giving the rewards and the penalty. Okay, that is very simple. We'll discuss it. So when we compare a statistics versus a data science, so who are they and what they do there, right? So data science is a blend of various tools and algorithms and the machine learning's principles with the goal to discover your hidden patterns in your data. Okay, there you actually do, and this is a step which is very much important to know. Every time while doing any analysis, I will be talking about this method, exploratory data analysis, especially known as EDA. So what happens one day, we were having a training of 40 hours, similarly as you are getting. Okay, so there were two trainers for this particular data science. Okay, so my work was to train the students on the sector of pandas, numpy, scipy, machine learning algorithms, and all these things. Okay, and the other one was having a work to train on the NLPs. All right, so I trained my work. I did my work. Okay, I went all through all these procedures on the 15 to 12, I think 15 day I taught. Okay, so 15 days I deal with all the procedures. When the next trainer came and he said, let's start about the NLP using the EDA. Now he said, you will be using EDA. You have been learned EDA, so we'll start with those. Now the students started saying, sir, we didn't got to learn about EDA. So we all did the EDA for the 15 days. Okay, and the students were about that, they don't know something about it. So the trainer just called me up and asked me, what you did the 15 days? So why didn't you taught the EDA to the students? I said, you just ask them whether they learned pandas, numpy, everything for that, because they didn't remember that these are a kind which is called as your EDA. So there you, actually explore your data. That is, it is known as exploratory data analysis. Okay, so remember, if anyone asks you any day that what is EDA, you should be able to say it. Okay, so you know EDA, you're learning EDA, don't worry. Okay, so yeah, moving on. So as I said, you find the hidden patterns inside your data, right? So as you can see in this image, okay, it is clearly shuttered here. Let me remove all this. So eraser. All right. Okay, fine. Yep. Where it is. And yeah, done. I think yeah. Okay. So you can see from the image, like a data analyst usually explains what is going by or processing the data. What is this? Is a job of a data analyst. All right. And on the other hand, you can see the data scientist not only does the exploratory data analysis, but also discover the insights from it and the various machine learning algorithms and occur the particular event in the future. That could be a data product engineering. This is basically called as your future prediction, FP. All right. So data science is primarily used to make decisions and predictions using some of the methods that is called as your predictive causal analytics, perspective causal analytics, machine learning for making predictions, machine learning for pattern discovery. So what is predictive causal analytics? Okay, so if you want a model that can predict the possibilities of a particular event in future, try to understand. If you want to predict a model that can predict the possibilities of a particular event in the future, you need to apply this predictive analytics, you can say casual analytics. Okay, so what happens there? Say if you are using or providing a money or credit transaction, then the probability of the customers making future credit payments on time is a matter of a concern, right? Because you are providing such methods or such business for you to the customers over there. Okay. Now you can build a model that can perform predictive analytics on the payment history of the customer to predict if the future payments will be on time or not, right? So this is where you deal with the predictive analytics. Okay. So what about the perspective analytics? Now, if you want a model that has intelligence of taking its own decision, right, and the ability to modify with dynamic parameters, or you certainly need some perspective analytics for it. So this relatively new field is about the providing your advice, right? So in other terms, it will not only predict but suggests a range of prescribed actions and associated outcomes. For the best example, if you want, so it's around, for the example, you can take it as of your Google's self-driving cars, or let it be Tesla self-driving cars, right? So those are an example because they have some various things pre-installed, you can say as well. Okay, yeah. So there, the car has its own decision to where it has its own decision, and it know whether where to turn, when to turn, which path to take, when to slow down or speed up, scale down, scale up. This, they have the knowledge for that. So that is called your perspective causal analytics. Now, what about the machine learning for making predictions? So suppose if you have a transactional data of finance company, and you need to build a model to determine the future trend, then machine learning algorithms, when you use, those are likely to be good one, right? Those are very likely to be the good one because they fall under the paradigm of supervised learning. These things when you go with the predictions one, right? So because it is called as supervising, because you are a trainer there and you train your machines. We will go and understand what are supervised machine learning, what are all those things in a short. Okay. So what machine learning does, you need to find patterns in your machine learning, right? So this was your predictions, and machine learning pattern discovery is what? You need to find some patterns or parameters based on your data. Let it be your data here, let it be your data, you have some points over here and you need to analyze some of the things from your data now. So from this to this distance, or let it be any category you are taking from, let's say you are erase pen. Okay, let's say you are having a data now, and you are having some of the points there. These are nothing but your data points for you. Okay, there are a lot of data points now. So let's say now you're saying I want to find the distance between these data points to these data points, and let it me draw a line over there, which you will be saying it as your a line of a linear regression. All right, so that will be discussing what is linear regression and all those things. So these are the things we'll be dealing of now, right? So when you sum up all these data, so we see that a data science could be work in the self-driving cars, could be good in the social media, marketing sector, travel sector, healthcare, claims prediction, which is nothing but your fraud detection. That you can see it as a sales and all these things. Which when you sum up, you come with a data science sector. Particularly, it is called the data science your sector for all the data science, right? These are the things we deal there. So if you combine it with a data science or a business intelligence, so I'm sure you might have heard about the business intelligence, right? Often data science is confused with BI, it's business intelligence. So business basically analyze the previous data to find hindsight and insight to describe business trends. Now BI enables you to take data from external and internal sources. All right. So you take your data from the external and internal, and you prepare it, and you run your queries on it, and then you create some dashboards to answer your questions for like quarterly revenue analysis or business problems. That is like all about the business, right? Okay. So BI can evaluate the impact of certain events in the near future. Okay. And the data science is, if we compare with the data science, so data science is a very more forward looking approach for a EDA method again. And there you analyze the past or the current data, predicting the future of the outcomes. Okay, so we can have it on the basis of data sources. It's structured and usually SQL of a data warehouse. In the data science, we get a structured data as well as a unstructured data and everything with the BI. Okay. In the approach, there is statistics and visualization. Now, here are a lot of things: statistics, machine learning, graph analysis, which is called as your visualization, neuro linguistic programming. Sorry, it's NLP. It are also called as natural language programming. Okay, so there we go. Okay, yeah. So focus here is in the past and the present. Once again, yeah. So focus here is in the past and the present, and here is in the present and the future based on learning information from the past. Alright. So here focus is on the past and on the present. But here focus is in the present and the future, retrieving the information from the past. That is a major difference over there. So here you have tools for all these things, and in the data science here we have full for the most important is your R over there, right? So we will be learning data science with the Python. So if you learn with the Python, you can go and explore it with the R. Okay, I will give you an introduction to R, how we go with the R learning. Sorry. Okay, so this is your life cycle of a data science. Okay, so phase one is your discovery section. You begin with the projects and then you go with all these things. So phase one, once again. So there you begin with your project, and it's important to understand the various specifications, requirements, priorities of your required budget when you go to build any model. Then you go to your data preparations. In that phase, you require analytical sandbox in which you can perform analytics for the entire duration of your project, right? And you need to explore the pre-processor condition data, driver or modeling techniques and all those things. Right? I think you might have been with the basics of Python. So if not, I'll be just starting up with all those things. Okay. So we'll start today with the very basics of Python. All right. And let me see there. Yes. So how many of you guys know the basics of Python? You can respond in the chat box. a very core basics, not much. I'm not talking about the very much big things, just on the basics. Diksha, no, yeah, Diksha, I think you know, I know. Prem also know, right? Harita, all right. So many I can see apart from you might 4 5 and okay, fine, that's good. So see, we'll be using the Python and for just get a quick understanding of the Python. So me too, yes, everyone. It's a good that it's nice to see. So for those who don't know, that's nothing to worry on. It's easy, right? So that's good to have. If you don't know, that's very good because you will be starting from the basics. Okay. So I'll be covering up with the Python. Okay, we'll start today with the basic one and we'll cover the Python. You know your course content. I will let me show you. So you will be having just an introduction to the data science, statistics, machine learning. So we'll go through the machine learning when we start. So we'll see that business intelligence and data science, history of data science. We'll go with all these things in the deep in the following days. Today we'll go with the Python programming, just an introduction to that. Okay, we'll understand the Python 2, Python 3, and these are the things to be covered. This will take almost 3 4 days to cover all of the basics. Okay, and then we'll go with the deep analysis. See, deep analysis. There should be one more word: exploratory deep analysis or exploratory data analysis. Otherwise, you might be saying, "Sir, we didn't read ADA and so on." Okay, so okay, then we'll see some of the mathematics part for the center of tendency and all these things. Now the machine learning techniques, linear regression, and we'll base some of the projects. That is our content course. Okay, so this content is of 40 hours and is based on 20 days. It's based on 20 days. Now that depends on you, and I leave on you how you want to complete your course. If you want to complete your course in someday, if you want, someday if you think that you have a free day and you want to learn for continuous 4 to 5 6 hours, let me know. I'll take 5 to 4 6 hours in one particular day there. Okay, so it depends on you how you want to learn in 20 days or in 15 days 10 days. Maybe in 8 days I'll cover 5 hours in a day, complete it in the 8 days. So it depends on you. Okay, okay, let's start. So there I have given you some of the modules to download the Python and Anaconda. I've done. I think you might have done all. So let's start up with that. Okay, so this is my PyCharm over there, guys. This is a PyCharm. I've given the PyCharm also. So let me remove this. All right. So before that, I'll be getting into the introduction of Python for you guys. Oh, there is one. Introduction to Python. Yes. So we are going with the Python. Now, what exactly is Python? You all have read it, so I'm not going to much in the deeper of the Python basics, right? So if we go with the basics of the Python for those who are new to Python. So in Python, in the very simple words, is a high-level dynamic programming language which is interpreted and was created by the Van Rossum sir in the 1989. Okay, yeah. So he was the father of the Python, as we have a different fathers in every particular field. So he was the father of that. So while he was developing it, with a motto of easy looking code or readable and an open source platform, right? So Python is ranked in the third most prominent language, followed by the its most competitive language, that is JavaScript and Java. In the survey, you can say, and this is prominent from the survey of the 2018 and 19 I saw in the Stack by the Stack Overflow there. Okay, so what is Python? Is Python for my it is a currently favorite and most preferred language for me because it's very simply and very powerful, have very powerful libraries and readability for all these. So we'll see the features of Python and we'll understand why Python is so much important and what is it. Okay. So why Python is important? Because you get a language preferred by the beginners and a pro programmers you can say. Like we have players in game, pro players. So we have pro players in Python. Okay, that are termed as your Python developers. So those are pro players there in the Python. So This is first of the language preferred, and for the next, it's an open source, or you can say it's a kind of a FLOSS, that is your free open source library software. Okay, that comes somewhat in the examination. What is a FLOSS there? So that comes many a time. Moving ahead, so that can be used. Python can be used for developing the desktops, mobile applications, websites, and a lot of things. So okay, it can be used for making some data analytics and more parts also. We'll see that it has a very big community which makes constantly makes the libraries for your help. Okay, that's all. So what are the features of Python? Now the first feature is simplicity, because you can think less of the syntax and of the language of more of the code. You should focus on the code rather than on the simplicity, because the Python is very simplex. So you need to only focus on your codes. So next comes as the open source. So what is open source? A powerful language, and it is very free for everyone to use and alter as needed. Next comes your portability. So Python code can be shared and it would work the same way it is intended to be seamless and your hassle-free language. That is your portability. You can convert your codes from Python to JSON, C, C++, whatever you want. Or you can convert your C, C++, JSON files to, you can import that files in the Python and you can work on that. That is your portability there. So it's easily being embeddable and extensible. That is your next one. So you have snippets of any other languages inside it to perform some certain functions and so on, right? Then we have some interpretations or interpreted, you can say. So the worries of the large memory task or the heavy CPU task, you don't need to worry on that because they're interpreted there. So it will automatically do everything. Okay. Next we have the huge libraries. So we have a lot of libraries we'll be working on. So libraries are nothing but having some packages for you so that you can work with all those things. So there are a lot of libraries. Okay. Well, next come as the OOP, which is stand for Object Orientations. Okay. So there you break down the complex real life problems into such a way that it can be coded and solved in a obtained solution. Okay. So yeah. So next come the companies who uses Python. So we have Google for better search results, and as you see when you search in the Google, you come up with a search result of some million posts in some 0.63 seconds and 73 seconds and so on. You get it there. Okay. So Google uses this Python for their better results as provided by the ranking of the websites, right? Next come up for the Dropbox, there where your server and the client applications are itself coded by the Python there, right? Then we come up with a important term you all know, I think, about Netflix. So how Netflix does, as I said in the previous one also, they use clusterings there. So that is a kind of an unsupervised learning in the machine learning model. So those are Netflix clusterings. How? Because see what happens when you go in the Netflix account, when you create your Netflix account, it asks you to give some three of the users, or let's say if it asks you to give three of your choices movie. Okay, you select some three of them. Now what happens? It takes the input from you and it makes the clustering based on all that topics, let it be for genre or let it be any of the type of the movie, and it makes a cluster of all those movie, and then will for the next time when you go in the Netflix, it will make you see there. Okay, so that would be the movies which you will be liking, because you have choose according to your interest, right? That depends on all these things. So machine learning is used in your Netflix to clusters users interest, and then it shows for you to retain them following, because as you can see your interest, the much you have the interest in particular company, you will be there for that much longer time. Okay, so the company must have or the company must give users as a part of an interest for themselves. Okay, so this is kind of a machine learning there. Then the national security agencies use of the America there for the cyber security analysis, right? They do use for this one. Then we have BitTorrent. When we download any file from the BitTorrent, what we see there? We see a multiple files or a lot of files downloading in the peers to peers section, right? So what we do there exactly? There, these peers file are of Python files which transfer from one to end. Okay, one end to another end there. Yeah. Next we have the scientific calculations using the uh, SciPy, or you can say as NumPy, or there are a lot of things that we use with this. Okay. So, what is the learning path for it? How do we learn for all these things? What are the learning paths in all the Python sectors? So, for the basics, when we go, as I said, for the basics, when you start with the very basic things, that is your variables, okay? Then that could be your data types and operators, that could be your arrays and flow controls, the methods of those, the file handling methods, and the object oriented programming, and then we'll do a bit of practice for your Microsoft examination, right? So these are the things we'll be doing, so that's good. And at last we'll see the career opportunities also. So in the career opportunities we have some web development frameworks, game development, big data, web testings, AI, data science. You are dealing with one of the factors, this data science, smart services. Now, see, there has been a much competition. Sorry, you can say as a competitor of your Python, that is your Java, right? So you can see the graph of Java being consistent from the starting, and in the Python, it's keep on increasing and increasing by the 2020. You can see this graph. It's here. So we have a lot of salary in the Python developer, for the Python developer, on the basis of various factors. We'll discuss those. So for a Python developer, the job trendings, you can see it has been topped with some 31.73% of the share in the 2020, and previous year it was having some 28.73%. Okay, so yeah, moving ahead. So if we go and see, first of all, we'll try to understand who is a Python developer. Okay, so a Python developer is someone who designs or program and you can say delivers software applications using a Python. That's all, right? Who makes some software, who makes some programs, or who does design something using a Python. That is a Python developer. So now the most of the important responsibilities are to write some effective codes, or the backend components, or the test and the debug programs. So these are the user work of a Python developer, right? So there are a lot of job trends for a Python developer. Now the increase in the popularity or direct proportional to the rise of the market, that depends on their job. Okay, so Python developers are in a great demand of all over the world. In the August 2019 or 2019, Geek or Google shows that the 69K opening of a Python developer has been given in the New York City. 69,000 Python developer. Can you imagine what is the era of that, right? So average Python developer salary is based on the factors of experience, location, skill set. Many factors are there, right? So we'll be discussing the three of them. So in India, let's say on the basis of experience, the pay scale varies on the basis of experience. In India, an entry level developer may earn a minimum of 2.4 lakhs per annum, right? The upper limit, however, you can say depends on the organization and the skill set of the possessed by the developer. So on average, an entry level Python developer earns around rupees 5,000k. Okay, that is your this one, rupees 5,000k. You can say your 5 lakhs 10,000 per year, right? So and in India, as compared in the US, you can find it as your 88k. Okay, according to the pay scale. Now, if you compare it with the rupees one, you will be getting at this. Understood? This is how it comes. Now, let's move on. So, if we see the graph, if you see the senior development of your, you can say senior Python developer. So, as you have the experience, the higher you have the experience, the higher you will be paid on. Because, right? So, because the higher you use the language, the higher you learn about the technologies and the methods to stream data and to work on the EDA sections, right? So, if you have the experience in the Python field for 1 to 4 hours, years. So if you have an experience for that, you will be paid for 588k something, right? So if you have an experience of almost 5 to 9 hours, you can see the graph. It's around 1 million, and so on for the 2 million in the 20 years or 10 to 19 years. These are some of the attributes. Okay, so these were based on your experience. Now, what about the location? Right. So salaries of the Python developer also varies geographically. Now in the US, the best location for a Python developer seems to be like for California, right? So their average salary is $122K with some 1.9 plus K jobs posted monthly on the basis of developers. Okay, followed by the New York, Washington, Virginia, Maryland, there all these. And in the India, you can find it out in the Gurgaon sector that is having 734K as the average salaries. Okay, there we also find some most of the scales, pay scales, depending on the your years of experience in the data science field or the Python field. Okay, yes, moving on. So, what is skill set now? So skill set is having knowledge of Python along with the skill proofs. Now what are skill proofs? That can be any different type of method. Let's say whether it is a Django, AWS, or APIs, or Docker, Linux, cloud computing, machine learning, JavaScript, Java, anything. So we can find it at that AWS and Django are having a much overall. If you have knowledge in the Python with these sectors, you can work well enough. Okay. So how to start? Just install your Python and then choose an IDE. Choosing an IDE is very important because it depends on how you choose your IDE, or you can say it depends on the work sector where you are working. Okay, so what is a Python interpreter now? So interpreter is a program which directly executes or programs or performs the instructions written in your programming language or scripting language. So when you download the Python there, you get an IDE there. That it means for IDE. So it provides you the code editor or of a compiler or interpreter. Basically, this is for an interpreter and debugs it in the graphical user interface. Now it's the entire process of the code creation. You can say the compilation or the creation of all the testings increase the productivity of the developers, right? So a developer working with an IDE starts with a model, with the IDE translates into the suitable codes, right? So why we choose, why the importance of the IDE choosement is important? Because when you choose the IDE, you have a lot of factors to work. It depends on the level of your expertise, whether you are a beginner or a professional. It depends on the type of industry or the sector where the Python is you are using, where the Python is being used, or it depends on the ability of commercial versions to stick on the free ones, because there are a lot of version that also get in the commercial or the free or community version on the free version, license version there comes. Okay, so that also depends on the kind of software you are using that being developed, right? It depends on the kind of software. It needs to integrate with some other languages also. Depends on which ID you are working, whether it can integrate with some other language or not, right? So we will be working with two of them. That is your PyCharm and your Jupyter, right? So let's start this. We got it. So the basics I know, sir. What is it? Okay, basics is no, sir. Fine. So you can probably come with the okay. And for those who are not working with the Jupyter and all those things, you can what you guys can do is you can come with the Google Collaboratories. Okay, we'll see just an information of a Google Collaboratory. So this is how we start with Google, and let it be open. Meanwhile, I'm opening my account there. Right. So this is a process, or this is a step where you can edit your contents, edit your programming. Right. This is your input cell, and this is your area of where you can write things. So first of all, what you do is when you work on the Google Collaboratory, guys, you click on the runtime and change the runtime type. You click a TPU. So this is a TPU. You will not be getting in the any of the companies there. Google gives you an option of a TPU to work on. It's an same the processing unit with Google use. Okay, so this is the same, and you would be using there with the TPU. It has a lot of speed there. Okay, so you have a runtime of all these things. You have GPU, which is your graphical processing unit, and your TPU for your tensor processing unit, right? So basically, TPU is used for only for the purpose of artificial intelligence, and it is designed by the Google and is only worked by the Google for it. Because Google never gives, you can't buy any TPU for your users. Okay, so select this, cancel, and now here you can write your codes. You can click on the text if you want a text. If you want to click on the text, now you can define your text to be a heading or not. Let's say I'm giving it a, I'm writing it heading, and I want, let me zoom it now. Let's say I want this to be a heading for, so I can give it as a heading and I can run it, so probably getting a heading on that. Now it depends on what type of heading you want. You want one or you want two. So if you press on all these, you will be getting this type of heading. Okay, so that depends on what type of you want. So if you run this, you will be getting one heading. So meanwhile, you can give the independent blocks. So if you write here, let's say I've written here let's run this. This is an independent block. If you want to write collaboratories, any particular thing, you can hide your cells. If you want to hide any code here, you can hide your cells. If you want to give it someone as a kind of, you can just download this one in the Python version or IPNB. You can save it in the GitHub also. You can save it in your drive. Okay, you can just print it off. There are a lot of things to work on. You can also change your command palette. You can insert some code snippets if you want some of the code snippets from anywhere. If you want to camera capture, you have a lot of codes written previously to work on. You don't have to work on all this. You have a lot of things for exploring in the machine learning section if you want to work with the machine learning section. Let's say, let's cut this. Okay, I'll make you see. Unable to connect the runtime. There might be some problem. Just hold a minute. Yes, you guys are there. Otherwise, runtime it's. Yeah. So it depends on you what type of shortcuts you want. You can modify your shortcut. If you want a code cell, you write C. Whenever you write C, or when you write Control plus C. So it depends for you, default, classic, or what type of you want, what type you want to. If you want to restore defaults, you can click on restore defaults. Okay. So what you do is you just write 2 plus 3 and you click on this option. So immediately you will be getting an output. That is your output. You run and you will be getting an output there. This is how it works. For a new code, just write on the code, write 7 minus 4. So there is an output. This is how it works on. If you want a text over there, I said again, for a text you can write it here. Let it be text. It would be printed like this. It's cave. If you want an image here, you can just specify the link of that. If you want a link over here, you can specify a link. Let's say I'm writing it for anything. Let's say it's google.com. So a link is specified here particularly. If you link the text, immediately the google.com opens on that. Okay. That is how the Google Collaboratory is very much good to use on. Okay, we'll not be using much for that. We'll be doing meanwhile for machine learning algorithms and the data science part, because it's processing unit is very huge, and does not require that if you are having a 32-bit PC with some very slow processing unit, that does not mean that you will not be able to run, because it takes its own processing unit here. It takes its own processing unit and just, but takes a lot of internet. That depends on your internet capacities. Okay, that is all right. So we'll start with the basics of, let's do it today here only. Okay, so cut off all these. Let's release all these things. Okay, so we'll be starting from the basics, right? So not from the very basics, because I think some of here are in the, they have learned basics, I think. Okay, so how, Diksha, how you are doing? Are you practicing the codes? I think it's been 1 week of you for practice, learn the basics. Okay, yes sir, fine, good, good. Moving ahead there to the laboratories. Yeah, so we'll start with the keywords and all the basic. Okay, so it will be a revision for you guys. So let's go with all the things and revise. So let's say, so if you come here or if you see here, so it says what, connected to Python 3 compute engine backend, that is your TPU, and RAM is your 0.79 GB out of 12.72 GB. So you can see your disk size. My disk size is 107.77 GB. So I have used out of 30 GB out of that. Depends on your disk size. Your might be 15 GB or something, right? By default, it's 15 GB. You can extend it on your own. Okay, so I'm having a good TPU over there. So yes, 1 second. So we'll go with the session of half an hour with the very basics of that. And 1 second, why it is not zooming out? Yes. So you can see there are a lot of things coming out. What are these things? NB convert, NB format, a notebook, all these things. Okay. So these are nothing but the libraries. So let's come and see with the keywords. So what are keywords in Python? So what, let it be in any particular language, keywords are nothing but your special names that are already present in your programming language, right? So what are the keyword in Python? So let's import the keyword and start it. Let it be keyword.kwlist, and let's see whether it gives some errors or just print it on. Okay, that's fine. So we saw a list of all the keywords. You can see there are a list of all the keywords which we have in the Python. Okay, these are the keywords which you have in Python. Okay, let me write it as my print. So probably we're getting all here. So now you can see, let me zoom it there. So now you can see it as the false, none, true, and assert, break, class, continue, def, delete, and all these things as your keyword now, right? There are a lot of keywords now to explore on. Right, moving on. So let's see whether my any particular string is a keyword or not. So for that, what we'll do is I'll give a very quick basic introduction to all the things, and from tomorrow we'll go in everything with a deep of that. Okay. So if I want to see anything is a keyword or not, I'll just write it here, keyword. Let me zoom. So keyword dot is your keyword or not. So let me write it here as, this is my, let it be any name, let it be artificial, right? This will return your true or false value. It says false. So false stands that it is not a keyword, right? Moving ahead with the identifiers. What are identifiers? These are the users defined names that we use to present some variables It can be classes, functions, modules, etc. Anything. So what is the syntax of that? We just give a name. Let's say name is equals to EduFabrica, right? And I took my identifier as equals to my name. That's all. Run it. So for running, you can use this particular cell, or just you can use by your shift plus enter. Okay, so this is your basic things. Now when you go and you write my identifier, so you will be getting an output that it is EduFabrica. You can copy this from here. You can go with all this, right? So why it is EduFabrica? Because you have initialized a string in the variable of a name, and then you have verified this name in the identifier. That is all. These are the basic things. Okay, moving ahead. So yeah, with the comments, the comments you get as a single line comment or a multi-line comment. What a single line comment? Let it be a single line comment. So in Python, everything you start with a single hashtag will be a single line comment, or everything you start with a hashtag will be a comment over there, right? Now depends on you what do you write. So it can be a single line comment, it can be a multi, not here. So in the data science we also deal with the some PUBG data analysis, right? So we will dealing with the, I'll make a project of the PUBG data analysis. I've made someone there. So also on the COVID data analysis, there is a PUBG data analysis. Anyone likes PUBG, they are playing out, so we'll be doing the analysis, don't worry. So we have multi and we have line. So multi-line predictions or multi-line comments, you can say, right? So these are the comments. If you write comments with, if you write any particular sentence with a hashtag, that is a comment for you. Let's say if I have written it print 20, so it will not be printed out. Why? Because it is starting with an hashtag. So if anything you write with an hashtag, that is your comment, and that will not provide you any of the output. Understood? Fine. Moving on. So what are the variables then? Well, just we are using in a very short manner, right? So what are the variables? Are nothing but used to get some reserved memory. I'm just brushing up you all. Okay. So today you go and revise all the basics. We will again start with the tomorrow with the some of the basics, right? So let's say I'm written as is equals to 10, and I print my s. So we'll get it as 10. This is how I deal up. Right? This is a variable first. Now if you want to define any global variable, so global keyword or global variable, you can say it's basically used to access or modify the variables coming out of the scopes. So let's say a is equals to 10, and let's define a function. So what are these? We'll be dealing up in the coming days, don't worry. So I'm defining it as a global A, and I'm saying it to be A plus equals to 10. I'll print my A as well as print my A, and that is what I'll call my function. So yes, so my A is 10 as I can see. Alright, so if I call my function now, so there is some sort of error, I think. Okay, has been referenced. So you can see this as a kind of your global, right? This is how it works on. So what are strings then? We have a lot of measure in these strings. Let's say I'm having a string. Let's say it's a machine learning, over there, right? Now I want my S. If I print my S, I'll be seeing it something called as your machine learning. Now I want to, let's say I want to find the count of I inside it. So how many I are present inside the word? So you will do with the count, and there you will go with the I. So it says there are two I's, right? So if you want to, let's say I'm taking an email input. These are the basic things. Let's say we are taking an input of an uploading file, right? So we want an input from a user for upload anything. Let's say we have written upload your image. So we are writing it as input, enter image name. If I run this and enter image name, it asks for me. Let's say I have written it as my let's say it as image.csv I have written. So it has accepted. Okay, if I run the image, it says that it is having CSV image.csv inside. But is the CSV format is of image? No. So if we want an image, we could have SVG, PDF, or JPG, PNG. Depends on your file importance. Depends on what type of file you want. That is particularly dependent on your file, right? So what you will do, you will specify some methods that I want that particular type of file. Okay. So what you do is, you will use the split method. You will split the things with the dot there, right? And you will check whether your image, you will check the image of -1 is equals to your desired thing or not, whether it is your PNG or it's lying within the JPG or it's lying within the PDF or any of the things you want, right? Now these could be probably not very much compatible with you. I'm just giving an example today of all these things. We'll go with the detail from tomorrow. So there you write with image or these things should be off. If it is so, then you will be just going on the printing of fine, or else you will be just printing on let's say no, right? Or let's say wrong format. So when you run this, it will again ask for you to write any of the image name. Let's say I'm writing it as again image.csv. So it says wrong format. Instead of taking input, it says wrong format now, right? So this is the wrong format for me. If I take it as a kind of, let it be image.svg, still svg is the format, but it will take a wrong format because it is not specified in my input, right? So if I write it as like image.png, let's see what comes. So it says fine. Okay, this is how we work on, how we write things. It's a very small code I've written. Okay, these are basic things you should cover on. Okay, so there are a lot of things to cover in the basics of the Python. Alright, so what are the things you should use while doing with the Python is you should always consider of your cases what you are using, because Python is a very case sensitive programming language. So if you write it here as something called you write x equals to 10, and meanwhile let's say if you are defining x comma x, and if you are writing x as your 10 and capital X as your 20, and if you run this, and now if you say that whether my x is equals whether my x is equals to x or not. So it will say that it is false because this x is small and this x is capital. This is not equals to that. Okay, let's say it's follow. So these are the basics, right? Now, if you want to see whether your image can be translated or not, so you want to see whether your image can be translated or not. So it will say that some problem is there, I think. Alright, so, oh sorry, image is kind of a list. It probably could be, let's say, name. So name can be translated or not, or again it says some exactly IS. Fine, we'll do that in Jupyter. So let's say now you have some letter, let's say it is having some space values, right? And you want to remove this space. So you'll be using definitely a method called as your strip. So this will remove the white space from the beginning and the ending of your string and will come as your normal string like it comes, right? It is a normal type of string now. These are the following things, okay? These are the following things you write for doing the string operations. There are a lot of operations. We'll be beginning from the tomorrow to learn all those things. Meanwhile, I'm giving just an introduction what we will be doing in all the our courses. Meanwhile, we'll be learning about the pandas in much of the detail. We'll be learning about the Seaborn. We'll be learning about the NumPy. We'll be learning for the random. We'll be learning the, you can say as your SciPy. We'll be learning the modules of your Matplotlib and many much more things like that. Okay, we'll be learning with the sklearn, LEARN dot so we'll be learning all these things. Okay, meanwhile we'll be also learning the logistic regression. There are a lot of things to learn on. Okay, so these are the things we'll be learning on all these 40 hours of course. And also you can see our field will dealing with the linear regression, logistic regression to make some of the projects, prediction of salary based on. And also we'll be giving you some assignments. You will be having some one day or some big assignments we'll have. You will be getting some one day to solve those assignments and then to save it. On basis of your projects, you will be getting the internship letters from the company. And meanwhile, we'll also practicing for half an hour every day for the Microsoft examination. Okay, or we can practice it for the last 5 days for the examination of Microsoft. Okay. There are a lot of methods. So I think the introduction section of that data science is clear to you guys. Okay. So today go just and brush up your basics of your Python. That is your string methods, the everything for the very basics. Don't go much in the detail. Just go with the definitions and all. Just go with the syntax so that when we start from tomorrow, so we'll cover all those things. Okay. Any confusions in today's session to anyone? Diksha is saying no. Prem is having no. Rita, it's no. 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 Alright. Nice. Fine. it's good. Let me. I think I missed the intro. Don't worry, you have your videos over there. Okay, so let me